So hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have moms Jessica, Alex, and Rachel here to talk to us about their experience with their children and a condition called tracheal agenesis. I hope I'm saying that right. Rachel, Jessica, and Alex have all been parents who have stayed at our Ronald McDonald House in Milwaukee, and we're here to learn about that. So moms, if you could, let's start right at the beginning. What was it like for you to learn that your child had this condition? How did you find out? What happened, immediately after that? What was that experience like?
Well, I found out about Ava condition tracheal agenesis at birth. It was something that was not detected while she was in utero. We knew that we were gonna have a preemie due to me being high risk pregnancy, but did not know anything about her being born without an airway until the day of delivery when she was born, and did not come out crying, and they could not intubate her.
Wow.
So, were you gonna go, Jessica?
You can go. No, you
Okay.
can go. It's fine. I'm in the elevator.
So we also did not find out in your utero. However, we did find out once he was born. I do not recall much of his delivery. I had a cesarean completed, and I was basically out for most of that. So the whole delivery, I do not really recall. The aftermath, I do not recall. It probably wasn't until a good maybe 18 hours later that I was informed that he was born without his airway. I knew right away because consent for attendance and going to surgery.
Okay. Jessica, you're on the path. There you are.
Yeah, sorry. I wasn't talking quite yet. We just made it back to the room. So we knew on leap year of 2016 that I was a high risk pregnancy. But we didn't know why, and there was a bunch of testing and stuff done, and still didn't know why. So we pictured just a perfect, happy, healthy birth. Yeah, unless you want me to sit up there, it's fine. Sorry. And then I started preterm labor about March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, and 3 weeks spent Ronald McDonald House in Marshfield, and then finally was able to be induced April 7th, and they had a team set up and everything, just in case there was something wrong, but everybody was thinking that it was just like a weird case of polyhydramnios with no explanation. So when he was born, everybody was like, oh, something's wrong, because he was born blue and floppy. And then kind of from there, it escalated quickly. And one of the things I vividly remember is the ENT doctor coming in and telling us that, he was going to go take a look as to why the ET tube couldn't go down, the breathing tube, and that their last resort is going to be a trach, because they don't like to do it right away because it's often permanent that early. So after that, we get all settled, and he comes back in and he's like, I couldn't place a trach. So I was like, what? And we were up in Marshfield still. And yeah.
So what is the treatment? What are the next steps for a condition like this? I understand it's extremely, extremely rare.
Right. My understanding is if they can catch it right away, they find like the sweet spot to put an ET tube in, and then they have to go in and block the connection between the esophagus and the stomach, so like the air doesn't build up in the abdomen and the stomach and cause more issues.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all kind of did the same kind of step. We all had the ET tube placed, and then we had a surgery to disconnect the stomach from the esophagus and give a G-tube, because I can't say the big word. And from there, they kind of take it and go like based on what the kid needs. Dr. Dunsmore says that like he kind of follows what the kids need, that they'll indicate when they need something.
That makes total sense. So how did the three of you learn that the Ronald McDonald House down here in Milwaukee near Children's would be an opportunity or an option for you to take advantage of during treatment?
For me, it started in Marshfield. Like they referred us down here and gave us the card and everything. So Marshfield Ronald McDonald House had us come down here, and it's a totally different atmosphere down here. It's not a bad thing. It's just not what I was expecting.
Okay, we'll get into that for sure. What about you, Rachel?
I did not even know that the Ronald McDonald House like existed in our area. You know, you see it at McDonald's, you know, like give, you know, your change to Ronald McDonald House. But like I was never familiar with exactly what it was. But because I was going in for a scheduled C-section and going to be delivering down at Freighter, the social worker reached out and she's like, well, do you want to stay at Ronald? Because I had to be up at 5 a.m. for a C-section. And I was just kind of like, what's Ronald? And she's like, oh, it's housing right across the street. So that is how I learned about the Ronald McDonald House.
All right, Alex, how about you?
I actually learned about the Ronald McDonald House while in Birmingham, Alabama. Like I said, we knew that we were going to eventually, you know, have a preemie. So the social worker there, I was in the hospital 3 weeks prior to having Ava due to my water breaking at 30 weeks. So they had to hold me in the hospital. And the social worker there told me once Ava was born, of course, she was going to be born premature. So I would have to stay around. Ava would have to stay in the hospital for some time to make sure she can be able to breathe on her own and make sure her lungs develop well. So they referred me then to the Ronald McDonald House in Birmingham, which is right across the street from Children's as well. But unfortunately, you know, we weren't able to stay there due to her being transmitted to Children's of Wisconsin prior to her being 4 days old. And they also sent the referral from Birmingham to the Ronald McDonald House in Wisconsin.
Okay, that's a big trip.
Oh yeah.
So what were your first impressions of the house? You know, the process coming into the house itself, seeing your room. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Of course, I wasn't familiar with the Ronald McDonald House prior to going in, but when we arrived, we were very welcomed. I arrived with my husband. Right after Ava came up through the Med Jet, we arrived shortly after on a plane ride, and we were very welcomed. We did have to do a COVID screen before we were allowed in, but I mean, that was expected. I wouldn't want it any other way. We understood there were precautions in that, but we were welcome once we did give our negative COVID screen. We were welcome. The lodging itself is absolutely beautiful. It's like a kids' playground. It really is. It's absolutely beautiful, very nice home feel. It's like our second home now.
I'll let Rachel go first.
Okay.
It was not what I expected by any means. As Alex stated, they were just very welcoming. We have our favorites there. But it was just, as soon as we walked in the door, it was like, here, let's do this and let's help with this. And it was more about understanding our situation and not just paperwork. So it was nice to kind of have that comfort. And then just getting settled in was nice. I was not aware like what the room was going to look like or anything, nor the house. The house is gorgeous. I love the living area, the living space with the fireplace and everything. And then we had our children with us, and it was kind of like, well, gee, what do we do with the kids? But then they gave us a tour and showed us, the whole art room, which is amazing. And then the playground outside. And of course, they love the magic room. So everything was totally unexpected. I was imagining more just like a hotel, I guess. So it like exceeded all expectations. It really felt like a home, as Alex said. I still call it a second home. I mean, we've been back there several times since our initial admission. So it is. It's just a place of comfort. Can just walk in there, see the smile in everybody's face. It's really welcoming and it feels comfortable.
Yeah. See, I went from like the tiny Marshfield, like remodeled into a Ronald McDonald House home. Like that was cute and cozy to Marshfield or to Milwaukee. And at first I was a little off put because it was so big and I was used to the other one. But like once we actually settled in, once we spent more time at the Ronald McDonald House, it did become like our own home. But at first, like Rachel said, she expected like a hotel type feel. At first, it did feel like a hotel to me. But we were also spending a lot of time at Thomas's bedside because we weren't sure what was going on. And actually, we made it down to the house and we did a quick tour. Like we didn't do the full tour. We're like, we need to get back over to Thomas like now. So they showed us where our fridge and stuff was to put our food. They showed us our room, and then I think they showed us one other thing, and then we left. Like we didn't even unpack anything. We just were like, okay, and left and went over to Thomas. So we didn't spend a whole lot of time there at first, but like the more time we spent, the more people we got to know, the more it felt homey, if that makes sense. And that's kind of why I wanted Rachel to go first, because I had kind of a different experience walking in.
That's understandable. Every house is very different from what I hear. And I know that Marshfield is a much smaller than the house here in Milwaukee. So I can imagine what that's like to be accustomed to one thing and then find something else.
But we've definitely grown closer to the ones down here, to the people down here. There are people.
Well, that's a testament too to the reason that we're on this call today. So the three of you, my understanding is that the three of you kind of became acquainted because of your experience at the Ronald McDonald House. Is that right?
Dr. Dunsmore emailed me with Rachel's info and then emailed me with Alex's info.
Okay.
So Rachel and I have met because of the Ronald McDonald House, because we were both there at the same time. I have yet to meet Alex.
Okay.
That's what I meant by like Alex is gone. Like, why is Alex gone earlier?
I gotcha. But that's one thing you all do have in common, in addition to going through the same medical treatment with your children and trying to understand what that looks like. You've all stayed at the Ronald McDonald House. So what do you think, how would you explain the sense of community around being able to talk to each other? Like, what's that like to know that you have someone you can call really understands what it is you're going through?
Very important. Very important, because like you said, like this condition that our kids are born with is very, very rare. And I remember before meeting Rachel and Jessica feeling alone, feeling like I was the only one with a child born without an airway. So meeting them helped, especially meeting them and seeing their kids and how well their kids are doing. It helps comfort me and reassure me that, okay, Ava right now is going through a lot because she's just for a month, but I can kind of get a picture and a glimpse of what her future can possibly entail. Each case is different. Ava is different from Thomas. Ava is different from Tennyson. Each case is just different, but still just seeing them, being able to put my eye on them and also meet them, it reassures me of a possibility of what Ava life will be in the future So without our motherhood, I call us the TA moms. Without them, I don't see how I would be able to make it sane, because it is definitely a journey, and it can get very hard and very rough. So without those ladies that call at any hour of the day or night, it would be very uncomfortable.
Yeah. So since Thomas is the oldest, we definitely went through it alone. There was really, like, I've tried to reach out to like other trach families, and sure, there's differences or there's similarities, but like Tennyson and Ava, they're all, like Alex said, is truly unique. So I went through that pretty alone. I mean, I had Corey and I had my family and friends and stuff, but it's not the same as having like a mom to mom connection, like a female connection. Because Corey's not exactly the biggest talker sometimes. So I remember feeling like a big longing for someone else, like to reach out. So like my entire goal has been to be there for anyone. And with Rachel, like we would talk on the phone super late at night. We're almost always texting or something, we're always in constant communication. Alex kind of was introduced to me in the beginning of the school year and the kids with face-to-face learning and basketball practice. And so like, I haven't quite, gotten the same connection with Alex yet. And we haven't met in person yet. But the plan is to. So like, and Ronald McDonald House provides that perfect place, especially during COVID. Like we've been down here and could have had opportunities to meet face to face, but like, going out and like meeting for lunch or something isn't exactly comfortable right now. So I was really looking forward to our stay next month to be able to finally meet Alex, because she'd be at the Ronald McDonald House too. But then, Thomas had to go and get sick, and now she's gone.
Jessica's a mess.
I'm gonna give you crap for it, because like we're here and you're not.
She's just gonna drink that coffee and be like, sorry. How about for you, Rachel? I mean, I can't imagine what it's like. In your words.
So the whole beginning was a really big blur for me. Tennyson was born October 25th, and on October 28th, Dr. Densmore said, "Hey, there's this other family. Are you interested?" And I remember telling him yes, but also being very hesitant. I was scared. I was terrified, actually. And then to know that there was another family that experienced this all alone. I mean, so he said he emailed me the information for Jessica. And he like legit showed me later on the email that he did send. I never got the email, so I never reached out. So then it's like early November, and he's like, and I was really struggling. I was a mess. I didn't know what to do. And just as Corey doesn't talk very much, my husband Mike is more the silent type, going to keep it all in, not really communicate about things. So I really did. I have a good support system, but everybody's like, "Oh, it's gonna be fine. You're doing so good," and it was like, that's not stuff I wanted to hear. Absolutely not. I wanted to be able to cry and say, "I don't know what's going on. I'm terrified," and I didn't feel like I had that person I could turn to that was going to have the right words for me. So then I shut down. I shut down from everybody. I was just numb for a really long time, and then it was, I think, Jessica, what date was it? Like November 15th or something?
It has a 5 in it. It's been a long night, so usually I would know.
But it was still a little bit later, and Dr. Densmore is like, "Did you reach out?"
And I'm like, I never got that contact information. And so anyways, he reconnected me with, or yeah, we got in contact finally. And I wasn't sure still. But I ended up traveling home for some reason. And I was like, okay, I have a 2-hour car drive. And I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm like, I'm just sitting here, anxious to go home, scared to go home. I didn't want to leave Tennyson. And I was like, maybe I'll try calling her. So I called Jessica and we had a conversation the whole way home. And then I ended up having to let her go because, I was at my destination and stuff. And I just remember it wasn't about the depravity of it all. It was about the hope. And I always cry at this. It's easier to type it out, but
right? I'm like crying too. Like, don't worry.
But I've called Jessica my life support. She has been there. I don't know what I would have done without her. I still don't know what I would do without her. It's just been amazing. And we were able to meet at Ronald McDonald for the first time. It was it's like we already knew each other. It's like we had this friendship already, and just being at Ronald and being able to be together and just experience life together was something that's irreplaceable. And then comes Alex. Dr. Densmore again connected us, and I was so grateful for that, but again, scared that there's like this other family. But connected with her right away. And just like without a heartbeat, like sending an email back within 2 seconds. And so I felt blessed to be in that position to now be able to be there and support somebody else. So we recently had an admission January 8th, and I was able to stay at the house and connect with Alex. Just eat meals with her, spend time with her, just hang out and connect. And, had it again not been for Ronald, we wouldn't have been able to have that furthered, relationship and connectedness. So there's my long spiel on what this all means to me.
Worth every word. And I don't even know how to follow that one up. I'm looking at my list of questions like, So
Right.
Jessica and Rachel have met at the house. Rachel and Alex have met at the house. Alex and Jessica have not met yet, but we're working on that.
We're hoping to so Thomas is supposed to be scheduled for like a sedated outpatient procedure March 5th. So since they changed policies to where like if you have 2 days with appointments, you can stay overnight. So we're hoping that we can still keep that appointment, and Alex is back by then, and we can meet. Because actually, March 4th is the day that we have to come down. Is my birthday, so that'd be super sweet to meet Alex for the first time on my birthday.
That would be a great gift. Awesome. Well, I guess a little bit more. Tell me a little bit about your favorite thing that happened or your favorite memory around the house while you had all this other stuff going on and things on your mind. What happened at the house maybe that sticks out for you, in addition to meeting each other, of course, minus Jessica and Alex yet?
Can I go first?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's not with our original stay. It's one of the stays that we had where we were inpatient through Christmas. Autumn has had some behavioral issues and like not wanting to listen at that point and would like yell at us and stuff and like scream at us. And it was Christmas time. It was like the day before Christmas. We were doing art therapy. She was doing fine, but she didn't want to go to bed. So she started yelling, screaming, and I had to like pick her up and take her to the room. So when she finally calmed down, we sat together and wrote Santa a sorry note, and that, you know, that doesn't happen as bad as it gotten, you know, about the screaming and stuff. And so the next day, or a couple days later, we were stopped by like one of the house managers, and they brought up the note and how like everybody loved the note because it was like the cutest thing ever. And like they even wrote Autumn a note back from Santa after they, you know, and left it with our stuff. So I thought that was like the cutest thing ever. I mean, we've had other moments, of course, but like that's one of like my top ones.
I say my most memorable moment was around the same time Jessica said it was Christmas time for us last year. The boys were able to come up. They allowed the boys to stay there, which I was very grateful for that, because I mean, my oldest is 9 years. I've never spent a Christmas without my family. So that was very important, and very grateful that they allowed them to come up. But of course, flying from Alabama to Wisconsin, we weren't able to bring Christmas gifts due to not having the room to pack all of them. So we were very we're like, okay, what are the boys gonna open for Christmas? So we decided to go out. I decided to sneak to the store right quick to get them a toy. They could at least have something to unwrap on Christmas Day. And oh my gosh, I'm getting emotional. And I remember putting the boys to sleep and finally being able to sneak off to the car to get their presents so I can hurry up and wrap them while they were asleep, and put them under the little Christmas tree that I was able to get to put in our room. And when I opened the door to go to the car, just wrapped presents just lined up against the wall for them. And it was, I just burst out in tears because I'm like, here we are worried about presents so our kids can have something open on Christmas Day, and Ronald just had just toys galore for the boys, and it was just at that moment I felt the magic of Christmas again as being an adult. Usually, you know, you're playing Christmas for the kids, but at that moment, I really felt like Santa had came to visit my boys, and were able to have a Christmas and not skip a beat. And that opened my heart and touched my heart too. I could never, ever be as grateful as I felt that night, because it was magical. It really was. And that was a memory that I'm gonna have for forever. Like really. Yeah.
That next Christmas morning was like that with us too.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just so much that they thought about the kids. There was some stuff for me
Yes, it
going
was.
too.
Oh yeah, it was.
Rachel, were you in it over Christmas?
Yes, we were. And actually, that was aside from music therapy and the kids loving that. Christmas is also something that that's what came to mind first, actually. Because yes, we were there over Christmas, and I just remember we were exhausted. Tennyson was barely 2 months old, not even yet, but and I was in Milwaukee like 98% of the time. We were separated. It was Christmas break, it was Christmas, and I was like, I don't know what to do with the kids. And you know, they were able to stay down there with me, and we had a good, you know, Christmas break together. Which I felt better staying down there, even though like we can't leave them, you know, alone in the house. But I still felt better like being right across the street from the hospital, having that security, and being able to have my children at the house. And one of the stressors too for us was we had absolutely no money. We maybe had like $100 to our name, which, you know, bills still need to be paid, still need to get food. I mean, snacks and other stuff that the house didn't provide that, you know, the kids were interested in. So it was really stressful. And I remember picking something off a tree. And I was like, I wasn't familiar with what it was. And I remember talking to the house staff, and they were like really wonderful about explaining it and saying, magic still happens here. And I was like, okay, yeah. Like I was thinking they were just gonna get like one toy and like it was gonna be, nice. But again, so we ended up going home for Christmas, because my mother-in-law wanted to do some Christmas together and like some normalcy. But then we ended up driving back down later Christmas Day. And somebody had come into our room and put the Christmas presents underneath of our Christmas tree that we had in there. And I just remember the kids. So my daughter was 10 at the time and my son was 5. And I just remember, oh, sorry, he had freshly turned 6. But they were like, who came in here? What happened? And they're like, what is this? Like, who is this for? And I'm like, I couldn't. I was just like, Merry Christmas, guys. Like, they were like, wait, who brought them? And I'm like, it must have been Santa. Like, they were at that age of like trying to figure things out, like my daughter was. And to have Santa come was amazing. Like I said, I was expecting like one gift or something, or like, maybe just a few small things. And Loker ended up with an entire Toy Story collection and books, and Addison Rose ended up with like unlimited Barbies and clothes and accessories and books and other other things. And again, like we got gifts as well. I think it was like a gift card somewhere. I got like earrings and a necklace, and not only is the house decorated beautifully at Christmas time, they truly make it magical. And I just, none of that was expected. It was just, it exceeded everything I could have wished for, especially with it being such a rough time. And for me, not even thinking about Christmas really, to an extent, because I was so worried about Tennyson. I didn't have to stress, it was taken care of in a way I never could have imagined.
And you didn't have to cook Christmas dinner.
No.
Yeah.
Yes, Santa's a good friend of the house. We try to behave all year so that he can come and be good for everybody who's there. Those are the best. Oh, those are great memories. I'm so glad. Thank you for sharing that with us. Is there anything else about your journey? What's to come for you? Your relationship, the sense of community that you've built with each other that you would like for our readers and our viewers to know about today?
I can say that with these ladies, even though I know me and Jessica haven't met face to face, I still feel a friendship with Jessica that is just the same way I feel with Rachel, even though me and Rachel hasn't met face to face. But I feel like with these ladies, I have a bond and a friendship with them for life. Like our kids, hopefully one day we can even get all of our kids together. That's going to be a big change in the future when Ava gets discharged. But I feel like a sense of sisterhood with these ladies. Like I gave ourselves the TA mom's name because we are moms of tracheogenesis babies. So going forward, I feel like a friendship for a bond with these ladies for life. I really do.
I always say these ladies are never going to escape me, whether they like me or not. Like Alex said, we're in this for life. And there's what was I going to say? I feel such a connection with each of them, and it was immediately just we have something to offer each other that is greater than I could have ever expected. I feel like I'm saying that a lot. Greater than I could have expected, right? Everything's exceeding my expectations. This friendship, I mean, just even through texting, phone calls, hugs, just getting together. And the one thing I would encourage too, outside of our community right here, is for others to connect with people at Ronald, because connections are what keep us going. And it's easy to feel isolated at times, but to be able to reach out and find others who are also struggling and be able to connect in a way that no one else can connect with them. I've been offered so much hope and love and strength. I can't imagine what it would look like if I didn't have these ladies in my life.
I want to add to what Rachel said about reaching out. It's easy to be intimidated to reach out to other people at the house, especially if you're kind of unsure about things, oh, what's going on? You don't want to interrupt their whatever. But outside of Rachel and Alex, I have a connection with so many other families. And it's always nice to know that connection is out there. One specific incident is there's a foster family that I had met that lives actually up by me up in Plover at Ronald McDonald House. I had gotten to know this lady quite well. And when we moved to our new house, we had talked about getting how we were going to set up our yard, and they were getting ready to sell their house. And because they knew us from the Ronald McDonald House, they offered us their playset, their wooden playset for the kids to have in our yard. Because they knew us from Ronald McDonald House, they knew our kids. And she's like, I really want you guys to have this. We're moving and it's not fully put together, so you'll have to, put it together and stuff. But it's the little connections like that. And there's another family that has passed clothes on from their kids to our kids, and we've passed clothes on to other people. It's the connections. It really is about not being afraid to find someone and just say, hey, how is it going? And not being afraid to say, what's your story? Because it really is, you get to know someone and then it's kind of awkward until you're like, what's your story? What's going on? And so I don't know. It's Ronald McDonald House provides a huge sense of community, sense of support, and it's hard because I've been elected the leader of the TA moms. There's one other mom that is out of state that isn't included right now, but I've been elected the leader. Everyone has called me the leader, and I'm not exactly okay with this because I don't do leadership. But that is ultimately my goal. Want to be there for someone. If there's someone that starts talking to me at Ronald McDonald House, I don't blow them off. I'm like, hey, what's going on, and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's a really just a sense of community. And with these ladies, for me, I remember some of the first things I told each of them was that they need a strong support system, that I went through crap and back. And I know that with Rachel, I was pretty blunt. I'm like, it is going to be hard. It's going to be rough, and it's going to get worse. I remember telling her that. And I also was like, but I am here. If you call me, text me, whatever, anytime during the day or night, I will be there as soon as I can. I think because of the own personal chaos I had going on, I didn't quite get as strong as a connection with Alex right away, but I'm also more of I got to meet you in person and then we'll fully connect type of person. So I'm really, really looking forward to meeting Alex one day. But I do have a relationship with her. I do appreciate our friendship, and I do worry about Ava all the time. I worry about Tennyson all the time, you know, even some of the other families, but sorry. I look forward to all the updates. I try not to bother you guys too much. You know, I try to be there when needed, but I do worry, like, all the time. Sorry.
No need to be sorry. I'm sure that Rachel and Alex appreciate even more knowing that extra layer of support is there, even when you can't see it and feel it. You know in your heart that that's right there. The three of you have that, not only with each other, but Jessica, you're saying that you've touched the lives of so many other people, and they yours as well. And you know, creating that community of support is, from what I understand, one of the things that gets people through these toughest times, knowing that there's someone there who's got their back.
Yeah.
I think part of my breakdown too is like I don't talk out loud a whole lot about like how strong the connection is and like how strong like I feel towards these kids. And I remember the first time meeting Tennis, and like I was, you know, of course was familiar with like, you know, what we walked into and stuff, but it was still like, you know, I didn't want to mess anything up, like, you know, and I'm still kind of weary now and then, but like I know one of the things like Rachel had talked about was hope, and like one of the biggest discussions we always had was, okay, let's hope to get the boys together. Like I think it was her sister nicknamed them TNT because it's Tennyson and Thomas. So like one of my things is I really want, like, I don't want Alex and Ava to leave until Ava has met Thomas. Because even when Thomas met Tennyson for the first time, the day that Tennyson came home, he had like the instant, like, that's my person. Like, it was the sweetest thing ever. So you can't leave until we've brought Thomas down to meet Miss Ava.
So
which will probably be at the McDonald house anyways.
Yeah. Well, I can't thank you all enough. Oh, Rachel? Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I was just gonna add that, as Jessica said, Thomas and Tennyson met the day we were discharged. She came to our house the day of discharge and waited hours for us to get home.
We did. We waited in the driveway. We were driveway bumps, and Rachel's like, "You can go in." I'm like, "I'm not gonna go in your house. That's your house."
But like, this community, this friendship, this connection, it meant so much. It still means so much. And the fact that she came to my house to help and meet and help, you know, just get us settled in and have that support there was the most amazing thing. It really meant a lot.
Well, and definitely with like the chaos you had going on, I could tell that like you were just trying to like just focus on one thing at a time. Like, I really feel bad that we didn't go in the house sooner. We could have maybe like, hey, there's something wrong here.
My basement flooded the day we were discharged.
Oh, geez.
So that's what that's about. But no, so I just wanted to add that in there. And then hopefully Miss Ava is going to be discharged by June, and we're going to take a trip to Alabama.
I don't know if we're quite ready to take a trip across country yet. We barely make it to Minnesota and back.
Halfway.
I don't know. We're being adventurous. We need the approval of all of his doctors, though. So
right. Well, we were gonna take a trip to Texas, and then COVID hit, and then we couldn't.
Right.
So a lot of my experiences with Ronald McDonald House happened pre-COVID. So if we do get to stay this time, it'll definitely be like a new experience for me, because I'm not quite sure how things have changed, or like, you know, I do know that there's been changes. I do know that you know, you have to wear a mask and stuff like that. But I do also know that they're trying to keep the same sense of community right now. Like you can see it in their Facebook posts and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting if we are able to stay, if Thomas is here long enough to be able to stay there.
I'll be curious to hear your discussion with Alex if you stay, since Alex came during COVID and hasn't been able to experience what you're used to, Jessica. It's different, but yeah, we definitely are trying to keep that sense of community. That's the number one, you know, the most important thing, a place for home away from home. So share notes with me after you guys talk, please.
Yes, ma'am.
I know that you all have things to get back to. I'm going to wrap up and just say thank you so much. Once I stop recording, there's some housekeeping items I'd love to discuss with you, but thank you so much for taking the time to share your story. I know it's an emotional one and that the journey is far from over. We really appreciate hearing directly from you. And I especially appreciate that you trust me to tell your story in our HomeWord newsletter and to share this with our viewers on our website. So thank you very, very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you, guys.